Hello viewers, welcome to Launch Flag. This is Ameya and I am currently in a town called Rani Pokhri in Dehradun. So in 500 meters there is no household whatsoever. I'm just hanging here by this dongle. So without any further ado, with us today we have Miss Shireen Meghe who did her LLB from Symbiosis Law School in Pune in 2018. Thereafter she joined Leiden University in Netherlands to pursue an LLM in international law. Thereafter, she was an international legal consultant in global rights compliance. So it's an honor to have you, ma'am.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Excellent. So without any further ado, let me just ask my first question. So as a talk show, we take motivation from how our guests did law. So what drives them in the law? What excites them? So what made you pursue law in the first place, and how did you develop an interest in the area of international criminal law?
Thank you, Ameya. So, for the starters, I decided to pursue law because I did not want to be an engineer or a doctor that I was very sure of. And when I was going through my options when I was in 11th grade, I came about a brochure which talked about various people who had taken law and then went on to have different careers later on, like journalists or politicians and so on. So that really intrigued me as a young person. And I thought, okay, so I really will have a lot of options. I do not really need to decide right now. So that sounds like a great thing to pursue. And that is really why I went for law at that time. And my dad's a lawyer, but he never really asked me to do law, or that really did not drive me at the time, at least. And when I got into SLS Pune in 2013, one of the reasons I chose Symbiosis Pune to be my topmost priority was because they provided exchange programs to universities abroad. And that was very enticing for me at the time. And I decided that if I get into SLS, that is one thing I would definitely want to do. And fortunately, I did get into SLS at the time. And then I studied German as my foreign language in my second year. Then I completed a certificate course in European Union legal studies, all with a mindset to go to a foreign university on an exchange program. And again, very fortunately, I did get selected for an exchange program to Berlin School of Economics and Law on a full scholarship provided by dad. And during this time, the 6 months exchange program in Berlin was what drove me to study international law further. Because in Berlin, I chose to study subjects such as international courts and tribunals, Anglo American jurisprudence, and so on. And my professors in Berlin were so nice and were so welcoming of my questions and my curiosities towards international law. I wanted to know more after I came back from my exchange. And then in my fourth and fifth year, I just tried to learn as much as I could about international law just to understand it more because uh, unfortunately, at the time at least, there was very little awareness about international law and international legal career in law school, within people around me, etc. I did not really have anyone to talk to about these things. So I'm glad you guys are doing this, first of all, because I'm glad that I'm talking about this and more people are getting to know about this because I did not have any of this. So that's where my interest in international law came from, and I tried to pursue as much as I could with whatever I had at the time.
Great, great, great. So, ma'am, you have interned under Chief Justice of India, S.A. Bobde. So, tell us about your experience of interning under him.
Yes, thank you. It's a great question. So, as part of the uh, required internships that we have to do, I chose to do one with Chief Justice Bobde, who was a Supreme Court justice at the time. It was not a very long internship because we only get little semester breaks, as you all know. Uh, but working there made me aware of the amount of workload the justices in Supreme Court have. There were days when we were in the office all day long and we would still not get done with reading all the files and preparing for the next day. And I don't know how I don't know how they did it, but we did our best when I was interning there. But the most significant or the highlight of my internship, you can say, was that I got to be part of the landmark privacy case at the Supreme Court. Because when I was interning there, Justice Bobde was on the 9 judge bench of the right to privacy case, and I got to be part of it. I got to research on complicated questions of law, hear all the famous lawyers we only read about. I got to hear them talk in the courtroom. I was there in the courtroom every single day. So I think that was definitely the highlight or one of the top things in my life that I have done, which was just by chance, of course, because I mean, no one really knows that this case is going to come this time or what. But yeah, that was definitely very, very interesting.
This must have
So,
been a great experience, right, Rajas?
yeah, I mean, so ma'am, I mean, if I have to put the interview till now in a few words, I can say that you are someone who has also experienced academics and also the bench, both from close proximity. So, if you have to like choose one of them, what would you go for? Just a question.
I think the bench, because as much as I like the academics, I don't think I'm that person. I don't see myself doing that for the longest time or in future for myself. So yeah, definitely the bench.
Great.
And do you have any plans to pursue that in future as well? Like now, are you planning to continue with litigation only for the rest of
Yes.
your tenure?
I mean, not for the rest of my life, but for now, yes, I do plan to do litigation. So, what I learned while working in the Netherlands in a law firm or in the UN court was that domestic legal practice is very prized, even in international uh, sphere in general. So, if you really do want to practice in international courts, that's what I was told by my mentors and my seniors, that it's it's great that you like international law and you've come here all by yourself even now, but it will be so much better if you already know how courts function in your own domestic country. So I'm doing just that. I'm learning what domestic practice is all about. Like, of course, as an intern, we learn a lot, but when you are wearing that gown and you're standing in front of that court and getting scolded by the judge, you learn something more, which you don't learn as an intern.
Right, right. So, ma'am, please enlighten us about the opportunities that we Indian students have if we want to explore international law in India.
Well, to be completely honest, the opportunities are very, very limited in India for international law. But I think you can start by, as I said, if you know already, if you want to go into academics or litigation, that's a great place, because then if you really want to go into academics, you can take up research roles in various organizations, NGOs, or even law firms for that matter. So there is I think Indian Institute of International Law in New Delhi, which is right across from the Supreme Court. So they have a lot of international law related conferences, etc. So being part of that community or be trying to probably get an internship with them would benefit you if you were to look into the more academic side of things. Of course, working with NGOs in research roles is a great start. There are many NGOs in India that you could look up. Right now, what comes to mind is the Commonwealth Initiative, and they do lots of human rights work. So, I mean, in general, if you just want to expose yourself to international law, human rights is a great place to start because they are very standard. And what we have in India as human rights is taken from international human rights that exists and the UN Charter and so on. So I think that's a very good. It would give you a good base if you just wanted to explore international law in a bit more general manner. Then of course we have UNDP India, where you can look for internships. It's obviously very difficult to get in, but if you could, it would be obviously very, very good for your CV. And if you want to go into international litigation, as I said, domestic practice is really the best place to start. Of course, the more constitutional law based or criminal law based matters you do, the better it is for you to understand globally how things work. So, in case in the future you are working in an international court, you will see that the procedural things are more or less very, very similar. So, the evidence stage, the argument stage, or the judgment stage, or the submission of your briefs, all of this, they come in a particular order and they will remain the same no matter where you go and which court you practice at. So I would suggest, either if you're not sure, trying both of those things, research roles and litigation roles in India, or if you already know you want to go into either of those fields, then as I said, NGOs and litigation firms, etc., would be a great place.
So, so like just to add on to that, so like what I get from your statement is that to get a better understanding of international law, one should be well versed with the procedure of his own country, right? Like if I put it in indigenous terms, then one should be well aware of the CRPC or CPC to get a better understanding of international law, or how the ICJ works, so to say, or
Yeah,
ICC
yeah, of
works
course.
in that case.
Yeah, yeah, of course. Like, unless and until you really know how the procedure works, learning any substantial law would be great for you. But the procedure is where the court really, like, that is what makes the difference in any court. And the procedure will be more or less similar, but of course in international courts, because for example the ICC has a strong mix of civil and common law. So you will see some things which are very similar to what we have in India, but some things that you've never heard of because they are taken from civil law jurisdictions. So at
Right.
least if you know what your country has, you will be familiar with the common law parts of that procedural statute. So that would definitely be a strong base for anybody.
Right, and talking of your work with say UN or GRC, how do you describe those days of your life? How interesting was it to work back at the GRC or the UN?
Well, it was wonderful, of course. So, GRC is a great organization. They work in legal advisory, in international criminal law, international humanitarian law, human rights law, and of course, international criminal law. And with them, I got to work on a range of different projects and subjects. Uh, and as my supervisor told me, when I started working there, I was still getting a hang of it. So I was not sure what I was doing and what I was supposed to do. But by the end, they gave me the charge of a whole project that we were doing. And when I was leaving, that's what she told me in my feedback, that Shireen, we really saw you progress through managing our social media in the first few months and then really managing the project. So what I noticed in the work culture there was that the people are much more frank with you. They take the time to actually get to know you and invest in you as a person and not just an employee, which I thought was wonderful because the unfortunately the truth is the work culture here is a little bit toxic. People are expected to really bend backwards and only then are you really working for the company or the senior or whatever. But there, that was not the case. And everyone was so humble and friendly, which made the work environment very nice and comfortable. And it's more important to have that when you're living so far away from your country, from your people, you're living in a different environment altogether. Everything is new around you, or everything is different. So having that kind of comfort in your workplace is something unheard of. And of course, my experience working at the United Nations Tribunal was fantastic. I got to see how the court works, how the case progresses. I got to hear some really terrific lawyers speak and argue in the court. And of course, I realized that the things work very differently there. Um, People are not shouting like they do in Indian courts, for example, or the judges are a little more polite. But people are also really passive aggressive sometimes because they don't want to say anything to your face rudely. So there were a mix of things, but of course, it was a wonderful experience overall.
So to be very honest, for a second year law student, this all seems to be a fairy tale, right? Because all we did is we have read Malcolm Shaw and all of the textbooks of international law, and hearing from someone who has worked with UN is of like it's so exciting to hear that in the first place. So I would ask you, what is this Association of International Young Criminal Lawyers that you are a part of, and is it also is it a law journal per se, or is it a forum, or is it a platform? What is it? How can we as a student contribute to it?
Of course, thank you for your question. So, the association is very new and we have just constituted it in January. It was constituted by some of my colleagues and friends from my LLM at Leiden, and the president of the association, Angelo. He had this idea in his mind and he told us, and then some of us who are the founding members, they decided to go through with it, and then they invited me and another colleague of us, Georgina, to be part of it. They explained to us, proposed to us the whole association. So the idea of the association basically is to facilitate networking between young professionals in the field who have interest in international law, and particularly in international human rights law, international humanitarian law, and international criminal law. And we also want people from criminal law backgrounds, their domestic criminal law backgrounds, to become part of our association. So what we hope to give to our members is a quarterly newsletter which will have highlights related to international law during that time that has already passed. And hopefully we will have articles from our members and highlights of what our members have achieved in that time. So we will try to highlight what our members are doing and what interests them, etc., etc. So the basic of this association will be to facilitate the networking. For this, we also have some really famous and good people from international legal fraternity who have agreed very graciously to help us and be part of our association. We will also hope to have them speak to our members about various international legal topics. Um, for example, how to have a successful career in international law, or what have they done in their lives to reach be in that position where they are successful in their careers. So things like that, and of course in general about international legal topics. So if someone does not have too much exposure to international law and would want to learn more about it, we will have webinars about it all the time, anything. So it can be about a recent decision that the International Criminal Court has come out with, that we will have someone to discuss with the members. We will have question answer sessions. So there will be opportunity to not only hear these people speak, but also to interact with them, which I think is very unique for people who do not generally have this access. And I am personally most excited about this association to be able to bring this to India or to Asia in general, because the awareness regarding international law or international legal career is extremely limited, as you know, and as I've mentioned before. So, what I hope to extract from this association for us, for Indians, is that to have an association of people interested in international law within India, who are able to come together and do something about it, or become parts of it, or get something out of it in for themselves. So let's see. Hopefully, we will have. We already have a lot of Indian members, and I think we have two professors from Symbiosis Nagpur also as our members, which I am very excited about, because having people from my own city be part of an international association is very exciting.
Right. And do you also plan to include a students chapter of it in future, maybe?
So, what we have decided is to have students take part in our association already. Even though it is from young professionals, we think as an association that students are okay to come to our association and become member of it, because in the end, after a few years, you will be the ones who will be becoming young professionals. So yes, students are very welcome to apply and be a part of our association. If you do not have already some exposure to international law, I would encourage students to write to us about how they are interested to know more about it, and why they think they want to pursue international law or be part of this association which is related to international law. So what we don't require already having international law knowledge or exposure, but we would definitely want to have people who are interested in it, a demonstrated interest in international law. So yes, you all are very welcome to join us. As you know, the membership is free if you subscribe, take the membership before March 31st. The membership of this year will be completely free. So
So I guess after Netflix, then the most subscribed thing to become in future is AIYCL in the near
oh,
future, maybe.
thank you.
Right. So now
Okay.
actually we have a short fun segment, and this is the last segment. So I hope I would like to invite Divyansh to take over.
So moving on to our next segment, which we call On Your Fingertips. So it is a rapid fire round. We will ask you questions and you have to be as fast as possible. And your answers can be in one word up to one sentence. Okay. So my first question is, what other hobbies do you pursue apart from lawyering?
I have recently started running. So I did a 12-kilometer marathon recently. That is my topmost hobby at the time. Other than that, I enjoy reading and listening to music.
And any three things in your bucket list?
Completing a full marathon is on the top of my list. Other than that, getting a diving license, a scuba diving license, and speaking three foreign languages. Right now, it's barely one. So,
Mhm. All right. So my third question is, please tell us about your most cherished achievement or moment of your life.
I think when I was part of the international defense legal team at the UN tribunal, when every day the arguments are happening in the court, it's broadcasted on a UN TV, and I was sitting on in the courtroom, and I was part of that broadcast, which I think is very exciting.
Right, right. Over to you, Rajesh.
So just to seek a clarification, so you are shown on the ICC's people who are
I
participating in the ICC list, ICC
Not the
conference or
ICC,
something.
it is the Mechanism of International Criminal Tribunals. So it's a court, it's a residual court from ICTY, which is with cases.
Yugoslavia.
So yeah, so there it's the UNTV of that court. So I was part of the team. So we sit, the defense team sits on one side, the prosecution sits on another side. So sitting with the
Right.
defense, and our my lead counsel was talking, and I was sitting right behind him. So the camera came to him, and then I was just behind him.
Uh, had I that was a very sophisticated way to present yourself. Had I been there, maybe I would have hooted or something like that. But
I didn't
in
know the camera was on me. My friends sent me a recording of the thing later, and I was like, "Oh yay, great stuff."
nice, nice. It's good to know. So, ma'am, any three pieces of advice you would give to your 20-year-old self?
Yes. I think the first one that I would still give myself is do not underestimate yourself. You can achieve anything that you set your eyes to. The second one would be don't worry about getting published and getting publications. You will get there eventually. It's not that difficult. And the third will be getting a big package at the end of law school is not everything. Your goals can be different and are valid.
Right. Even I like whenever I converse with my friends, I can all I can deduce is that getting a package is maybe the ultimate aim that as law students
Yeah.
in India we have, and this is
Yeah.
not only limited to my school, National Law University of Nagpur, but throughout the legal diaspora of students. Getting
Mm.
a PPO is all that we imagine as of now. But anyways, I mean, I hope it
Exactly.
changes.
Yeah. I hope it
Yeah.
changes.
Right. Maybe AIYCL can contribute to that in some extent. I hope it
I
does.
hope, I
Yes.
really hope so, because that should not be the end goal of.
Right. Exactly. And so, as you said, one of the most cherished achievements was to appear in the UNTV. So, given a chance, would you now appear in the Supreme Court of India for, say, a very high-profile case, or would you rather choose the ICC or ICJ over Supreme Court? And given the fact that in both the places, media is covering you.
Well, if it's a high profile case in ICC or ICJ, I would definitely choose that. I mean, that's really exciting. It's now a dream. I don't think it's going to happen very soon, but if it does, I would definitely want to be part of that because all I've wanted to do is international law, and if I'm able to do it and be famous for it, that there's nothing better than that, of course.
Right. Absolutely. And the very last question of the interview now. So this is like a very hypothetical situation, but if you are given a chance to exchange your lives with someone for a day, who would that be?
I think right now it would be a carefree person who is sitting in Goa at the moment because everyone I know is sitting there except me. And I don't think I am
Right.
able to do that anytime soon with the amount of work I have. So that would be a great
Great.
break for a day to exchange lives with that person, whoever is in Goa.
Right. So if any Goan subscriber of ours is watching this, please let us know your details. we we need it immediately. Right. So that was all from our side, ma'am. It was a great pleasure, and it was rather an honor interacting with you. Given the amount of achievements that you have, it's usually not very approachable for us students to have conversation with someone like you, and it was very kind of you to have agreed for the interview.
No, it was absolutely my pleasure. And I'm so glad I was able to be a part of this because I only wish I had something like this happening when I was a law student and I wanted to know more about international law. So I'm more than happy to help and do this. And honestly, if anyone has any more questions, they are free to reach out to me on my LinkedIn or my email or whatever. More than happy to help anybody. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. I mean, you should rather put a disclaimer that not more than 100 people should approach you because maybe then.
No, it's really it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, man.
Thank you.
Likewise.